Hello.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ready for a nice day at the computer.
Oh yeah. Trying to get my iPad set up. My kids have been playing games on it.
Yeah, and I have a waiting room set up, so I'm like looking to see how well I recognize names when they pop into the room.
Mhm. My son had downloaded about 50 games on my iPad in the last 3 days. Like he figured out how to click on the thing, see an ad, click on it, and download it.
Nice.
I think they're all free though.
You better hope so.
I'm gonna stay muted most of the day because it'll be kids and dogs.
Yeah, I do have the setting so that when everybody logs on, they're automatically muted because because people.
Mhm.
Hey Joshua, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you as well. Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to go ahead and hit share screen just to go ahead and test that out and make sure yours can control things?
Yeah, it looks like it opens up fine for me.
Okay, go ahead and click share screen because I don't see it, like it's not presenting on the Zoom just
Oh,
yet, but just, okay, there we go. Cool. Yeah, you can go ahead and stop that then. Just making sure. I always double check that I've got settings correct because you never know. And a, uh, a, a, a pandemic horror story was a Zoom meeting we had back in, I think it was summer of 2020, where we had an MAA Sports Sigma event going on and it got Zoom bombed. Are you familiar with that?
a little bit. I've heard of it before, but
Yeah, the person leading the meeting made the mistake of putting the Zoom link out on social media, and once that's out there, nothing good comes from that because we got through our business meeting, and then there was a presenter who got about two-thirds of the way through, three-fourths of the way through, and then whoever nefarious people popped on there. The next thing you know, it was just hardcore porn videos playing, and that was officially the end of our meeting. It was bad. It was bad. It was pretty embarrassing. It was pretty rough.
that's
So
tough.
anyway, ever since then, I'm always like, okay, I try to lock things down pretty tightly with not sharing the link broadly, making sure people can't share all the various things. I don't know, and you never know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so right now I'm just keeping an eye on the waiting room because people are popping in. I got to make sure I recognize names and all that.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Russ.
Morning, Filippo. How are you?
Good. Just finished watching Chelsea winning, so it's all good.
Yeah, what was the final score? I saw it was 1-0.
2-0.
2. Yeah, okay. Right before I left, I was watching that and I saw a Chelsea player should have had a goal and then he hit it off of his own teammate's foot right in front of the goal. Should have been 2-0 at that point, but
The wonder of VAR, huh? All the things
yeah,
they catch nowadays.
yeah. My Newcastle guys play tomorrow, or no, they play on Monday, I think. So,
Yeah, I think it's Monday, yeah.
yep. Yeah, so you're a
It's starting
Chelsea
to turn
fan?
it around. Yeah, Chelsea's the second child. The first child is Roma, but
Oh, nice.
Chelsea's the yeah, my Premier League team.
Cool.
Had a long history of Italian players.
Hmm. Hmm. Morning, everybody. We're going to give it just another minute or two while people pop into the meeting. Good morning, Matt Garrett. Just a heads up,
Morning.
the email you registered with originally, whenever it was way back when, was what I sent the Zoom link to. So I'm glad you got the link either way, but I have an MSM.com email that you originally registered with. So I don't know if that explains why maybe you were a
No,
little
my
nervous
fault.
there at 9 a.m.
Yeah, my fault. I was like a student, right? My fault, and thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So we're gonna give it just maybe another minute or so, and then we'll get going. Still a few more people popping in, but all right. Well, it's 9:02. I think we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll try to multitask with letting people into the meeting as they pop in. But I'm recognizing some good names and faces, so this is awesome. I'm glad to have everybody here. I'm going to share my screen here real quick, and then we'll get at it. I want to welcome everybody, and I'll share a bit of our schedule and some stuff, and then we'll kind of go from there. If somebody would help me out and like verbally say yes, you can see my welcome slide in like in actual good presentation mode.
Looking
Yes.
good, Russ.
Yes.
All good, awesome, great. Well, first of all, so again, welcome to everybody. I do want to let everybody know that I am recording hopefully the entire meeting. I've set Zoom up to record. What will be interesting is when we go to breakout rooms for the concurrent sessions and the posters. I believe Zoom will keep recording then, so we're going to kind of figure some stuff out as we go along. But if you do have any questions or issues about recording, let me know. But my hope is in the maybe few weeks after the meeting is over that I can make the video for all the presentations public, and for anybody who wants to see, or if you want to share with your boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, and all that, you can. But again, yeah, welcome everybody to this year's event. I'm very, very excited to have another really wonderful schedule for this conference. So thank you for registering. Thanks for being a part of it. this was a record number of proposals for talks and posters. So I was really, really excited to work through the logistics again for this year. I do want to walk you through our program just very briefly here so that you understand what the day looks like. This is a virtual event, obviously. So, of course, come and go as you please. Listen, obviously, to Joshua's keynote here in a minute, and then just stay for the rest of the day or come and go as you need to. If you need to pay attention with one of your eyes to Indiana, Ohio State at 11 o'clock, I will understand, because that might have my attention too. Let me go ahead and bring up our program. Joshua, can you nod? Are you seeing the schedule now on the screen? I always get nervous about what's showing or not. So here is basically the schedule for the day. We are on Central Time, so I'm glad you're here. This was the first time since COVID, since 2020, when we first started doing this virtual, that nobody showed up in the Zoom at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I was really, really pleased to not getting any panicked emails. The schedule of the day, I'll put the link to this in the chat here in just a minute. Actually, let me see if I can do that right now. Nope, I can't multitask. If anybody has that link, if you want to plop that in the chat, you can, but I'll do it here in just a minute. What all is here for you is a link to our social media. If you want to screenshot or make comments about people who are posting, that'd be great for any publicity you want to tag at MW Sport and SPRT Analytics. Social media is a nice thing. There is a link to all the talk abstracts. So if you haven't already looked at that and you want to know, what Joshua is going to talk about here in a minute, you can click on that, and that'll bring up a new Googly Doc file with all the abstracts, so you can take a look. The poster sessions, I did want to say a bit about that. So Joshua will talk here in a minute, and his talk could be about 40-45 minutes with some Q&A. So we'll have a good chunk of time to listen to him and interact with him during that hour. Following that will be the first of two poster sessions. There's a link to the abstracts there, so if you want to see what those posters are all about, you can. Those that are presenting, and I'll remind those folks as we get closer to 10:15, I do have links to some of the actual posters themselves, so I'll put that in the chat before I create those breakout rooms. So anybody that wants to look at the posters sort of on your own computer at your own leisure, zooming in and seeing things how you want to see it, I'll post the links that I do have. I only got a few of those from poster presenters. So otherwise, those of you presenting posters this morning and this afternoon, I'm going to ask you to be sensitive to those watching and listening to you. Please do zoom in the best you can so that folks can actually read, the parts of your poster that may be kind of small if you do it in full screen view. So zooming would be helpful for your audience on that. But I will create breakout rooms for each of the presenters, and the abstracts have the room number for each of those presenters. And they're just in order. So Barron's will be in room 1, room 2 for Bhutani, and so on and so forth. So fingers crossed that goes pretty smoothly for both of the poster sessions, morning and afternoon. We will have a bit of a break. This being a virtual event, of course, it's a little fatiguing at times, right, to be at your computer most of the day and having headphones on and all that. So we will have a 15-minute break, go to the restroom, go get a drink, whatever. When we come back, the 3 concurrent sessions, and again, I'm really excited that there were so many talks submitted, so very, very excited about that. I will then create those 3 breakout rooms. You can move yourself to whichever room you want to be in. I can also move folks into a particular room if you need help with that. I will be sort of floating around the rooms because I kind of want to see a little bit of all the talks. But if I am in that breakout room and you need help moving out of that and somewhere else, please just reach out to me and I'll help you out the best I can. I do want to announce the 11:20 talk by Amrit Vignesh, not sure how to pronounce his last name. That talk is canceled. He's had something come up, and so the 11:20 breakout room 1 talk has been canceled. And then there's another one in the afternoon that I'll mention in a second that got canceled also. But we're good to go with lots of talks here. We will have a nice healthy lunch break, so go do your thing. I'm probably going to shut the Zoom down, or I might leave it on. I haven't decided what to do there, but but you'll have a nice healthy lunch break, get away from computer, go outside and do something. When we come back, 12:45, we'll have that second group of poster presentations. So please interact with them. I'll beg you to come back there. Another short break. Amelia Probst will give our afternoon keynote at 1:20. So that'll be another 40-45 minute talk with Q&A, and she's awesome. So it'll be good to interact with her. And then we'll end the day with our last concurrent sessions. So 3 sessions again in 3 different breakout rooms. And it is the Will Allen talk. Maybe I should just edit this on the fly. The Will Allen talk at 3 o'clock has also been canceled. He's had a family emergency come up. So I'm just going to strike that out. So I'll just edit on the fly here. This is kind of fun. This is a lot of fun. So anybody looking at this later, I literally just found out about these things not too long ago. So that's a quick overview of the schedule. Let me go back to the welcome slides here, if I can find them. I don't know if I can find them. Shoot, let me try this again. Let me do that. There we go. That's what I wanted to get back to. Sorry about that. So I mentioned them already. So we have 2 really good keynotes here. So Amelia and Joshua will talk to us this morning and this afternoon. So looking forward to that. Again, there are 2 talks that have been canceled, so kind of hard to balance the different documents here. But we got 16 great talks for the day. The poster sessions, again, there are some links to the abstracts, and I will share links to the actual posters the best I can as we go along. If you need that link to the schedule, I believe somebody plopped it in the chat, but there's a tiny URL for that. So tinyurl.com/MSAM24sked. So take a look at that and see where you want to go. And again, just a reminder to use some social media if you want to tag MW Spurt Analytics on any screenshots or comments you want to make. That'd be awesome. Positive tagging and posts are wonderful. If you have criticisms, maybe keep that to yourself. That'd be great. But as we go along, of course, if you have ideas for how to make this event better, I'm always open to feedback and ideas. This is the 9th edition of MSAM. Okay, I'm not going to give you the whole history right now. I might save that for later. But I love doing this. And if you have ideas for adding on or doing things differently, I'm very open to that. We've got a little bit of a budget to play with. So if you have ideas that how we can invest in how this goes in the future, again, I'd be very open to that. So let me stop that. Are there so before we get going then, any questions, things I can clarify about the day? Anything we're concerned about? Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and roll into it then. I would appreciate. I'll try to monitor this the best I can, but I expect everyone to keep their Zooms on mute while our speaker is speaking, just to be respectful. But let me go ahead and introduce Joshua. Joshua, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can go ahead and roll into that if you can.
Are you seeing this in presentation mode?
I am definitely seeing that. The Joy of Sports.
Wonderful.
It's a great title to start off the day. Awesome. Okay, well, it's about 9:15. I think, oh my God, we're actually ahead of schedule. Is that right? We're not supposed to start till 9:15. This is crazy, man. We'll just sit here and stare at each other for a minute. No, let me go ahead and introduce you, and we'll kind of hit the ground running here. This is great. So Joshua Mould, really excited to have him speak with us today. Joshua is an assistant, or the assistant? Is it the or Josh?
I think assistant is just my title.
We'll go with assistant. All right. He's so assistant in baseball analytics for the Boston Red Sox. Joshua attended Villanova University. He co-founded their sports analytics club, and he graduated in 2023. So recent grad, congratulations, with a degree in computer science and statistics. Joshua previously interned with the Philadelphia Phillies. So interesting, going back and forth between AL and NL. He's presented some undergraduate research at the Carnegie Mellon University Sports Analytics Conference, as well as the SABR Baseball Analytics Conference, and he can often be found spending weekend nights playing poker with his friends, hopefully winning. Are you good at poker, or you just like to play?
I will say I'm pretty good. Yeah, I actually had a poker night last night, so came out on
Okay.
top.
Awesome. All right. So he's optimistic and he's ready to go. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mute and turn off my video. So I'll monitor the Q&A as you go along. Everybody, listening and attending, please, throw things into the chat if you have questions. We'll do Q&A at the very end, but if questions sort of add up as the talk goes along, don't feel like you have to remember and bring it up at the end of the talk, and we can kind of go from there. So I'll shut up, and Joshua, I'll let you take it over, and really happy to have you here. So off you go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goodman. I really appreciate it. I really am honored to be speaking here. I mean, I'm an assistant, and in order to find me on the Red Sox staff page, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. So I'm on the lowest rung. Hopefully, won't be there for too long. But I really am honored to be here as one of your keynote speakers. So, and yeah, my talk is called "The Joy of Sports." I actually don't think I have an abstract on the website, so it's just a mystery as to what I'm going to talk about today. But hopefully, you find out that it's a good mystery. But yeah, so I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my journey, how I got to where I am today, as well as a little bit of baseball analytics of what I do on the day to day. So yeah, and I titled this "The Joy of Sports." I thought it would be a good way to start off the day, and sports is something that has really brought a lot of joy to my life, and I think that is why we're all here as well in the same space, is that we've all experienced the joy of sports in a similar way, and it's brought us here today to share in our passion for it. And so I'm going to try to demonstrate that joy that I feel throughout this presentation. It might be a little bit more difficult over Zoom, but I hope that you can feel that from me today, and I hope it starts off your day well. And yeah, so let's get into it. Um, here is my career journey overview, and this is the way that I'll go about this today. So starting off in high school with my baseball experience, and that was also the period when I started to set goals in my life and what I wanted to do for a career. It was also where I started developing my skills independently because a lot of the skills that are required in the baseball world and in the sports analytics world are not things that you really learn in high school. You really learn most of that in college. But I decided to start a little bit early. I was passionate about it, and so I did, and I'll talk through that. And then move on to Villanova University, where I gained more professional experience with internships and that sort of thing, research as well. And I did networking and research at Villanova as well in college. Spent a lot of time doing those two things, which really helped me out on my journey. And then proceeded with academic skill development, right, where it's a lot easier to pick things up and learn things that you'll need in a professional role through the academic environment. And then I'll move on to my position with the Boston Red Sox and the real world experience that I've gotten there, the professional development that has taken place since starting in June of last year. And I will also tell you about how this is really my dream job. I'm from the Boston area. I live 30 minutes west of the city, and I grew up a Red Sox fan. So I'm truly blessed to be in the position that I am today, and I'm grateful for that every day. But yeah, so let's get into high school. So I played baseball for 12 years or so. I don't know when it really started. I just kind of used 12 years to say that it went essentially to my junior year of high school. And so I both pitched and hit for a while, but mainly I was a pitcher. I loved pitching and that part of the game of baseball. I loved the mental side of things and the mental battle that took place at the plate with between the hitter and the pitcher, and I loved every aspect of the game. I also played hockey, but baseball was really the sport that I loved. And so, yeah, like I said, I was a pitcher, and that would help me later down the line as well. But yeah, my playing days ended my junior year of high school. I was actually diagnosed and started presenting symptoms of a degenerative neuromuscular disorder, which brought an end to my playing days sooner than I had hoped. I was probably similar to a lot of you. I wanted to play sports professionally. I wanted to play baseball professionally, and that dream was brought to a stop very abruptly because of that. And I also spent my junior and senior summer in high school recovering from hip surgeries that were somewhat unrelated. So I was not able to play baseball anymore, and but I loved the stats. I loved the numbers. I was good at math in school. I ended up taking AP Computer Science and AP Stats, and that helps me realize uh, that I really had a passion for this, and that those were things and those are skills and subjects that I wanted to be doing on a daily basis in my career. And then I don't know if many of you recognize this picture in the middle. That is from the movie Moneyball, where Brad Pitt stars as Billy Beane, the manager of the Oakland Athletics in the 2002 season. But essentially, this is a movie and a book that was written about the statistical revolution in baseball that was essentially said to start in that 2002 season, and that really transforms the baseball landscape in terms of statistics. And that movie, I fell in love with that movie. I have seen it probably over 30 times. I turn it on the TV whenever I see it on live, and it really it got me curious. It got me thinking, like, how did they figure this out? How did they determine that more value came from getting walks and getting on base as opposed to just getting hits and things like that, that I picked out of the movie. They had a bunch of numbers on whiteboards in that movie that uh, was it was representative of the strategy and how they wanted to use these numbers to get to a winning baseball team. And I wanted to know how every one of those numbers was come up with. I wanted to explore that. And this also brought to light that there was another path to baseball and to be in Major League Baseball other than through playing. And so I knew that that path now existed, and I knew that I wanted to pursue that. And so that was where I really set the goal for myself, that I want to be in Jonah Hill's shoes, who is the analyst in that movie. And I wanted to use my skills in math and statistics and computer science uh, to be able to contribute to a winning baseball team, and someday hopefully become the general manager of a Major League Baseball team like Billy Beane was. And so that also led to the independent skill development that I did in high school. So yeah, like I said, that movie got me curious, and I investigated the ways that they actually came up with these numbers, and I found out that a lot of it was done through statistical techniques that involved the programming language R. And so I started teaching myself R through just YouTube videos, and it was really tough to start at first because I didn't have anyone really teaching it to me, but I just really tried to dive in and immerse myself in that environment and try to figure things out and try to create metrics like they did for Moneyball. So and that brought me into college. So I went to Villanova University, where I studied computer science and statistics. Villanova was really a really good fit culturally for me. So I was really glad that I ended up there. It was truly a wonderful experience. And but yeah, this was where I first started academic skill development, where I developed a lot of experience in the languages you see at the bottom there. I highlighted mostly the ones that are applicable to sports analytics, R, Python, and SQL, but Java is also the main language that they worked through in the computer science curriculum at Villanova. So I included that there. There were several other languages that went along with that, and that I was able to learn, and gave me skills to that I was able to develop throughout my time there. But I also sought out um, courses that would help me reach my goals, and so I sought out machine learning courses that really helped me improve my statistical skills, understanding the theory behind machine learning, and also the application of it through R and through Python. And then I also tried to apply everything that I learned to sports and to the things that I loved and was passionate about. So that didn't just involve baseball. I worked on a lot of different things in college and had a lot of different uh, kind of interest in the sports analytics world, even though my main interest was baseball. I did several March Madness projects. That's always one that you can really use as a class project. It's the unsolvable problem. So did a couple projects on that. I also looked at attack angle in Major League Baseball and how different attack angle profiles benefited or hurt hitters. For those not familiar, attack angle is the angle at which a player swings the bat, a hitter, that is. And then I also did some work clustering fastball profiles as well, using clustering techniques to see what kinds of pitchers existed in Major League Baseball. But yeah, and then alongside that, I also did some research and on my own and posting on the Fangraphs community blog. Fangraphs is one of the premier baseball statistical websites, and they have a community blog along with the actual blog writers that they have there, where people can go and post interesting articles that they just do their own research on. And so I ended up writing a few articles there. I listed a couple there, but uh, I will say that these articles were really bad to start. They were not good. I mean, I was a senior in high school, freshman in college, writing these articles. I had very little statistical background or even computer science background, but that was important that I did that and that I displayed my passion for baseball and for baseball analytics through that work as well. And they did get a little better along the way too. Um, but yeah, so that I'll talk about more later, how that helped me as well. Then I also did some work with the Villanova baseball team. I reached out to one of the coaches there, and luckily their pitching coach was very receptive to analytics and wanted to have me help out. So yeah, that was really great for my professional development. They had just installed the TrackMan system in their ballpark, so they were just starting to get data there, and I was able to develop my skills by working with real data from the real world. This was my first kind of real data problem where I was scraping data and cleaning it to be usable for a player development app that I built for them, mainly to help develop pitchers, but we also had some hitting features as well in there as well. And then inside of that app, I was able to build out pitch quality models, just talking about or explaining uh, how valuable different pitches were, how good they were in the college environment, and how we could make them better. The main focus was on development for our pitchers. So, and then I threw in some assorted hitting metrics as well. I developed a swing decision metric that I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But yeah, so that was my first real world experience, I would say, in the sports analytics industry. And then actually the first thing I did when I got to Villanova was start the Villanova Sports Analytics Club. But this was a really big thing and a really big role that I had in this, and it was a great leadership experience for me. So I was a co-founder and co-president of the club. And we did a lot of different things within this club, but the motivation for founding this club was so that I could share my passion for sports and sports analytics with people who also had a similar passion to me. And it was really motivated by the fact that I couldn't play anymore, and I couldn't experience sports in that way with other people. And so I wanted to create a space where uh, people who maybe weren't able to play the game that they loved anymore, or just didn't want to, or were never really interested in it, or just weren't good enough to make the teams, could express their passion in any way that they wanted. So throughout our meetings, our general body discussions, we had discussions about current events. It was very surface level, and you could get involved in that if you wanted to. We also created a mentorship program where myself and other members of our board would go and teach other students who were interested in learning R and about how to actually do sports analytics in the real world. Uh, how to do that, and we would teach them R. And so that was really helpful for me in terms of my skill development and my communication. I'm sure any professors in the audience can relate to that, that it's one thing to learn something, it's another thing to teach it. And so that really helped out with my communication skills and with my knowledge of the subject that I was teaching, to my own sports analytics skills. And so we started that program, and then we also participated in a lot of competitions as well throughout my time there. That was, I think, one of our first ones was when they started up the Syracuse Football Analytics Blitz, which I think is still around. I know there's some Syracuse presenters today. So so yeah, we ended up winning our room the first couple of years, and then I think we ended up winning the basketball analytics competition that they had uh, maybe last year. Of course, it was after I left, but that was really good experience for uh, also dealing with real world sports analytics data and applications, a very interesting case competitions and case studies that they presented to us there. And they also had judges who were very high profile in the sports analytics industry. They had judges from professional teams, from other companies that were involved in sports analytics, like PFF. Um, and so that was really good to get feedback from those competitions and to understand how we did and keep improving in the areas that we lack skills in. So that was really helpful for just my professional development and learning. And so moving on, so this was really my big break. So I ended up developing a metric called EAGLE, which stands for Expected Additional Runs Gained by Looking or Swinging Estimate. And so this was something that developed through my reaching out to a professor. So we had two advisors for the Villanova Sports Analytics Club, both in the business school, and they actually taught a sports analytics course together. And so I reached out to one of them, just asking a simple question my sophomore year about uh, a independent research project that I was intending to post on the Fangraphs community blog, and it just got us into a longer discussion about baseball and potential projects that we could work on, and it ended up in a very productive conversation about plate discipline and how that's not really quantified very well in Major League Baseball, at least publicly. And so we ended up that was actually an interest that I had partially because of Moneyball. I've always been big on swing decisions and plate discipline because of that movie and how much it pushed walks are almost just as valuable as singles and base hits. So yeah, and it also came up through these couple of GIFs here. You can look this up online and see some other GIFs that I have presented in the past and have posted. But they're really comical sometimes, like this swing on the left, which is Byron Buxton swinging at a pitch that is miles outside of the strike zone. And it's in addition, it's a very crucial situation for him to not do that exact thing that he did. It's a bases loaded situation with a 2-2 count, two strikes, one out, and the game is tied too. So this is just a wildly bad decision that we think he should be uh, debited with much more than just a strikeout. And then similarly, on the right side, you can see Austin Hedges taking a 93-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle from Chase Anderson, which is not particularly fast, and Chase Anderson has never really had a dominant fastball. But this is also with a 2-2 count, almost even worse, 2-2, two outs, the base is loaded, down by 2 runs, and he takes this pitch right down the middle. And so essentially the argument is that he should be debited much more and penalized much more for this bad decision here. And there are other examples that we looked at and that you can probably find that maybe a player decided to swing at the pitch and it was right down the middle, but they missed it for whatever reason. They were just a little bit too late or too early. Or maybe they made contact and they just cranked the ball down the line and it was just barely foul of the foul pole. And we want to be rewarding hitters for those decisions despite the outcomes that they result in. And so that was really the motivation for this metric. So getting into how we actually did it. So with each pitch, we simplified it down to this. With each pitch, the batter has a decision to make, either to take or to swing at the pitch. And from either of these decisions, there are a certain number of results associated with that. So if you take the pitch, there's only two things that can happen. It could be a strike or a ball. And then with a swing, there's actually a lot more things that can happen with a swing, but we simplify it to these things. Miss, you can swing and miss, you can swing and foul, you can swing and make an out, or you could do these four other outcomes, a single, double, triple, or home run. We didn't really feel like accounting for catcher's interference here, so we didn't deal with that and simplified it in this way. Um, but yeah, so because of this framework, we're able to build out models that can predict the probabilities of these events occurring. So we built a model to predict the probability of a strike. And then additionally, we were able to calculate the run values of these events occurring through run expectancy, which is a little bit more complicated, and I won't get into it now, but essentially it's the run value of each of these outcomes. And so we calculated the run value of a strike, and then did the same thing for the probability of a ball, and the run expectancy of a ball, and the same thing for all of the swing outcomes as well, from the probability of a miss through the probability of a home run, from the run expectancy of a miss to the run expectancy of a home run. And so with all of these things, you can then sum up the multiplication of the probability by the run value of these events occurring, and you end up with the run expectancy of a take, the total run expectancy of a take. And then you can do the same thing for a swing. You can get the run expectancy of a swing by summing up the multiplication of those probabilities and outcomes. And then essentially you can find the expected runs gained of that decision by taking the difference between those two decisions. So in terms of the run expectancy sums there. So in order to get the expected runs gained of a swing, you just subtract the run expectancy of a take from the run expectancy of a swing, and then do the same thing for the expected runs gained of a take. And so Eagle is just the expected runs gained of the decision. And so we thought this was a really cool acronym too, because Eagles is often referred to in a context of having an eagle eye. So you have a really good eye, you have really good plate discipline. And so we ended up writing a paper about how we did this and submitted it to several competitions and conferences, and I ended up getting accepted to present at the Carnegie Mellon Sports Analytics Conference in 2022, I want to say. And I presented and I ended up winning the student research paper competition there, which was really big for getting publicity and getting this work out there as well. That's how teams saw my work develop, from these poorly written Fangraphs community blog articles all the way into this competition winning research paper. And that was really big for them. And that was also where I made my first Red Sox connection is there was someone who I work closely with now, a coworker. He attended Carnegie Mellon University, and he was attending the conference and reached out. So yeah, then I ended up presenting at the Philadelphia chapter of Sabres little conference that they had there. SABR stands for the Society for American Baseball Research, for those who are not tuned into that. And then I presented at the SABR Analytics Conference, which is the premier baseball analytics conference, and was a real honor and really cool to be a part of that as a presenter. And then I did a follow-up article series with Baseball Prospectus. It was two articles that just went through the quantification of Eagle and how it worked. And then I presented at MathFest in 2023. And so all these presentations really got my work out there, and I was able to put that on my resume and show that to teams as well as an example of work and the way that I applied my skills to the problems that I was passionate about in sports analytics. And so then I went through the MLB interview process. So I laid out how I went about it here, and also how I would recommend that others go about it and take into account if you want to get into the sports analytics industry. So and that just starts with research. So determine the job qualifications, look online at all the job postings that you're interested in, and determine what qualifications there are and which ones you're lacking. And then additionally, network, do the same thing, but just through talking to people. Reach out to the people that have the jobs that you're interested in, and figure out what skills they use on a daily basis, uh, what got them to where they are, and then plan for your own development in that way, and develop your skills to potentially put yourself in their position. And the next thing is publish. I say publish your passion. If you're passionate about it, put it out there. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is. Like I said, I started off with really poorly written Fangraphs community blog articles, and but because I kept doing it, teams would see that I was continuing to develop my skills, and I was really pushing myself in that respect and trying to get better. I wanted to learn, I wanted to get better. And so that really shows your improvement. Additionally, you can ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from the professionals that are in the positions that you want to be in. Ask them for their thoughts and what you can do to improve. And that goes back to the research aspect of things as well. And then the last step is to apply. The worst that they can say is no. What I did in college is every year that I was in college, I had a spreadsheet of all of the teams in Major League Baseball, all of the other teams that I wanted to apply to, and any companies, but it was mostly professional sports teams that took up that list. And I would go through almost every day just searching for the jobs that were available. And by just submitting my resume to and my application to all of those job postings, no matter like where they were and how, and just anything that was adjacent to the field that I wanted to be in, allowed me to gain experience in the interview environment as well, from all the higher view interviews, from all the questionnaires, from all the coding problems that I did. It allowed me to figure out what these teams were looking for and what they wanted to know about me, and what made a good applicant and a good candidate for one of these roles. And additionally, in the interview environment, it allowed me to understand what kind of questions they would ask, what they were looking for in these candidates, and that helped me figure out what skills I needed to go about developing. These interviews will push you to the limits of your knowledge and will help you figure out what else there is to learn. And so that was huge for me as well in terms of um, figuring out what would make me a good candidate for these roles. And so I ended up landing an internship with the Philadelphia Phillies my junior year of college. I was an associate quantitative analyst, and that was an incredible summer and an incredible year. The Phillies started off a little bit in rough shape, and then had a managerial change as well mid-season, and then it ended up being an incredible rest of the year to be a part of. They obviously went to the World Series that year. They didn't win, unfortunately, but it was still very cool to be watching that team as a part of the organization. And I really had a lot of fun in this role. I was an intern. My boss, my supervisor, was the clubhouse analyst. So I did a lot of major league strategic information projects and assisting the major league team with optimization and strategy. So that's kind of what guided the internship, and it was very cool to be a part of that and so close to the action as well. Um, but then some takeaways from this experience. It really solidified my passion for a career in baseball. I really loved walking into the park every day and working for this team, and felt like I was a part of it as well. I also don't have slides for this part, but I had actually done an internship with Travelers Insurance my sophomore year. And I found out that I did not want to do insurance, which is equally helpful. It really helped me learn that it solidified my passion for baseball and my desire to go into the sports analytics industry. And so I decided to just go for it, and really knew that this was what I wanted to do. I also learned that there is a lot to learn in baseball, analytics wise. There's so many different ways to solve problems, so many different tools to have in your tool belts, and there's a lot of growth to be done there. It's really a never-ending educational process in the field of data science and statistics, and I wanted to push myself in that area too and to develop my skills there. Additionally, baseball wise, there was a lot to learn. There's a lot that you don't really get exposed to as a fan, because you can just say, look, I really want Juan Soto, and I think that's going to make our team better. But there's so many different things logistically that go into a baseball team and into an organization, and a lot of different ways to value players differently because of that. And so I learned that there's just a lot of intricacies in the sport and a lot of things to learn in that respect as well. There was also a lot to learn communication wise. When you're communicating with stakeholders, you really need to be able to explain your ideas clearly and explain your findings clearly, because you want to be able to um, tell them the value and explain the value of your work. And to do that, to go from statistics speak to baseball speak is a complicated process that I learned about, and that will seep into my Red Sox career as well. But yeah, it was an incredible summer, and I had a lot of fun working with the Phillies. Um, but then I ended up following up, staying in touch with my Red Sox connections, and was very blessed to be offered a position inside the Red Sox analytics department as an assistant in baseball analytics, specifically in the player development side, which is really, really cool as well, and brings a lot of joy to me, because I essentially I've always been really into developing myself. And so I think it's really cool to be able to help others develop themselves as well. And uh, and accomplish the dream that I once had, you know, of being a player in Major League Baseball. And I think that's truly a blessing to be able to help these players pursue their dreams actively as well. So um, yeah, during my Red Sox tenure, I worked a lot on pitching related projects in the player development space. So, determining what makes pitchers good and how we can make them better. And that involves a lot of the things that I've listed here. So, but I also learned about the differences between organizations. I went from the Phillies to the Red Sox. And so, this kind of compounds on the idea that there are so many different tools to approach problems with, so many different ways to think about them. And so there is a big difference in analytical approach. There's because of the fact that there's so many different ways to approach problems. Each team and organization will have their own philosophy around it and the way that they attack these problems analytically. So that was very interesting to see. There's also different cultures and collaboration, and that's really important across the organization. That's a that's really how the analytics work gets from our studio to the fields. It has to come through fostering relationships and through collaborating with different types of people, different people with different backgrounds, and that's a really cool thing to be able to do. And like I said, yeah, working with people with different backgrounds is a really interesting part of things too. Even within the analytics department, we have a couple of PhDs, for example, in our analytics department. One of them is a physics PhD who was previously working at the CERN Super Collider in Switzerland. So very interesting background and very smart guy who it's been a privilege to be able to learn a lot from in my time with the Red Sox. And then the other one was a behavioral ecologist who was doing research on monkeys. And so these different perspectives really help think through problems in different ways and are very helpful in any organization. I don't think this is true with just baseball. But and then communicating with stakeholders, like I mentioned, that's been a huge part of my time in baseball. Is now that I'm a full-time member of the staff, I communicate a lot with the stakeholders in my projects, which turn out to be coaches and skill coordinators a lot of the time, people with a lot of baseball experience, and being able to communicate the findings that I have clearly and concisely and in baseball terms too, and how that relates to on the field's efforts is really important so that they can then translate that to on the field results and to be able to communicate that to players effectively and efficiently. And the last thing is I love Fenway Park. It's truly a joy to be able to work for this team, and I'm truly blessed to be in the position that I am with my hometown team. I take a walk around the stadium every day to get my steps in, but also to take in the view. And it's just a gorgeous place to work, and I truly get a lot of joy out of being a part of it. So now I'll get more into the baseball analytics side of things. So um, yeah, I'll start off very much more simple for those who are not super familiar with baseball analytics specifically. But you can see in these visuals here that these are the cameras that we actually use um, for tracking baseball and everything on the field, really. So we have 12 camera systems that are able to capture things like the velocity of the baseball, the spin rate of the baseball, the movement of players, the biomechanical tracking data that we have now. It's incredible. I truly am amazed by it. And how impressive it is that we're able to do this with just cameras and triangulate all these different positions and recognize the poses that players are in. But this is ground zero. This is where we get the data, and it's important to understand that where we get the data, so that you're able to treat it effectively when it comes in to be analyzed by you later. Um, so yeah, this is where we get the data, and that's how we're able to create plots that look like this. So this is the plot of a Major League Baseball pitcher's repertoire. So this is split by pitch type. So the fastball is in the red cluster, and the yellow cluster on the left is the slider cluster. And so this is plotted by horizontal and vertical movement. So this is all in relation to gravity. So if you have a pitch that has only gravity acting upon it, imagine a baseball with no seams. There's no spin on the ball. The only thing acting upon it in motion is gravity. That's the 0, 0 point here. So there's a couple of forces acting on the baseball that I'll also get into here that create this movement. Um, and so this is something that I look at every day for a lot of different pitchers, and something that you can derive insights from based on the where the clusters are located, where how spread out they are, how well separated they are, and so much more. So this is just one part of my daily process is looking at these pretty much. And so here I've created a little leaderboard for you to see for the fastball vertical break leaders. So this is just the top 10, and I've chosen fastball vertical break because vertical break is said to be one of the more important characteristics of a fastball and how good the quality of that fastball is. There are a lot of different things that go into the quality of a pitch, and that I'm not going to get into here. There's a lot of different things that we track that can be used to derive the quality of the pitch. But I just chose vertical break because that's well known publicly to be a something that is cared about highly because when you are able to get more break on the pitch, you're spinning the ball harder in a more vertical manner, then you're able to get above the swings of hitters and you're able to induce more whiffs. Um, so yeah, this is one example. And then the next one I brought out is sweeper. And so sweepers have been kind of revolutionized in recent years, essentially as a weapon for pitchers to use. So a sweeper is essentially just a slider that it sweeps across the zone. It has a lot of horizontal movement. And so with these leaders, there's 5 Red Sox pitchers on the list, or pitchers that pitched for the Red Sox this past season. So bonus points if you can name all 5. But these are all pitchers who generate a lot of spin on the baseball. You see the spin rates that are up in the 3000s occasionally, which is wild. Most pitches sit in the low to mid 2000s. And so that spin contributes to the horizontal break of the pitch that you can see there. You can see Craig Weissert leads the league with a 20 inches of sweep, which is really, really impressive. And so something that I have been able to have the opportunity to deal with a lot is non-Magnus movement. So this is a physics concept essentially that has been brought into baseball in our analytics. So I'm sure if you're familiar with baseball analytics and the current public research out there, then you've probably heard the term seam shifted wake, which is essentially where this non-Magnus movement idea comes from. It's from the idea that the seams affect the movement of the pitch as well, in addition to the way that the baseball is spinning. So the Magnus movement is movement due to how the pitcher releases the ball. So that's the way that they physically spin the ball, the side spin, the back spin. And then non-Magnus movement is the movement due to how the seams catch the air. And this can actually have very large effects for different pitch types and for different orientations of the baseball. So I've included a couple of plots here. On the left, you can see a sinker movement breakdown where I've plotted the Magnus movement in the green and then the total movement in the blue. And so you can see how the non-Magnus movement is implied to be in a downwards direction to the right. and increasing the depth and run on that sinker just based on the way the pitcher is holding the baseball, just based on the way the seams are catching the air. And so sinkers are known to have a two-seam grip typically, and that's what creates that movement as opposed to a four-seam fastball, which is a different orientation of the seams on the baseball when you throw it. And then on the right side, you can see slider movement breakdown. So this slider, its Magnus movement represents itself in the form of more of a slurvy type of pitch that in between a slider and a curveball. And the non-Magnus movement is implied to take the movement of that pitch upwards and to create a total movement profile that is more in line with gravity in terms of vertical break. It creates more lift on the ball. And so there's a lot that you can do with non-Magnus movement that I've had a lot of projects related to, and it's been a lot of fun to deal with this and to determine how we can optimize our grips as an organization and do other things related to that, exploring the movement of a pitch and how we can create better movement profiles. So yeah, that's the analytics that I have to share, and hopefully that's interesting to you. I think it's very interesting to understand how the seams affect the baseball and how you could just changing a grip can cause a totally different movement of the pitch, and you can see it too when you look at the way these pitchers throw these baseballs, and sometimes you can see the ball catch the air and move in a different way. So it's really interesting to me. And so wrapping things up, I just want to go back to the joy of sports, and it's why we're all here today. And I truly get a lot of joy out of sports and out of my passion for baseball and out of just the sport of baseball in general and the art and the beauty of it. And at the end of the day, it is just a game. And I love when players can show that emotion and show that it's so fun and that represents itself in not only the players but in the fans as well. Fenway Park is a venue that brings Bostonians together every year and really shows the joy that these things can bring to an entire city and the whole world. So I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, I thank you all for having me here today, for listening, and hopefully this was helpful to you. And feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, and feel free to connect with me via email too if you have any additional questions that I can help answer. But yeah, once again, very honored to be here as a keynote, and thank you so much for having me. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Great, thank you, Joshua. I hope everybody can at least give a little clapping emoji or something to that, or like clap your screen, whatever you want to do there. But yeah, thank you very much. That was fascinating. So um, we've got some time for some Q&A. I think you kind of hit a lot of different really cool ideas or areas of your background and some of the work you're currently doing. I'm curious if there's a connection, and I'll just get us kickstarted here. Is there a connection with, you mentioned that there's a physicist working that had been, where did you say they were working? So there was a physicist working on staff. Is that someone connected to the work you were just showing about how the seams affect the movement on pitches?
So actually, interestingly, no. He was working on the CERN super collider in Switzerland, which is
Right.
like the
Oh, that's
big
what it was.
particle accelerator. Yeah. And no, we actually had another very smart and interesting person working on this who had laid out all the groundwork for this before I got there. And so I was lucky to have it handed to me and that I didn't have to do any of the physics really behind much of this, but I'm able to use it to help the team in other ways and optimize through modeling and all of that. So yeah.
Okay. Well, what kind of questions are out there? If anybody wants to, either you can unmute or you can use the Zoom, raise your hand. We can put you in order just in case, so we don't talk over each other. But what kind of questions we have for Joshua? Michael Thompson.
Yeah, I thought your the Eagle metric was fascinating. Do you use that more to evaluate players, or do you see it used to say to a batter in this situation, don't swing maybe unless you're ahead in the count or something like that?
Yeah, it's both. Like you want to be able to evaluate players, but you also want to be able to make them better. And since I spend a lot of my time in the player development space, that's definitely something I think about, and something we thought about a little bit of is you could create like a plot of the strike zone that shows where this player makes good decisions or bad decisions, and you can then use that to be able to create drills and training programs for them to be able to improve those skills and improve in the areas that they're weak in. So absolutely, yeah, both.
Jessica Craker.
Yeah, thanks very much for your the talk. I found it very inspirational and very energizing, and I guess that's one of the reasons I come to conferences like these, is both to hear about what is new and why we keep doing this. As someone who got into sports analytics a little bit later in my career, I find that, and I don't know how much of insight you'll be able to answer on this, but I find that sometimes it's hard just to stay motivated and enthusiastic, to literally find that joy. And some of the ways I found are by reading books in the area, not necessarily technical books. Do you have other ideas that maybe, you've heard from people who've been in the area a little bit longer? Ways of getting involved with that joy side?
That's a really good question. Um, yeah, books are a good way to do it. I think the history of the game is so beautiful, and the history of all sports is really, really cool and really interesting, and why we play these sports is very interesting as well. And so I think particularly baseball is an area where that's very apparent, is there's so much history to it, and incredible from incredible nicknames that you'll find of players back in the day to just the different ways in which they trained and swung a bat. And all the documentaries that are out now. I don't know if I'm sure a few of the people on here have seen the new 2004 Red Sox documentary or docu-series on Netflix, about the 2004 Red Sox and their comeback, and that's another way, is like through I guess through different mediums of art, are different ways to depict that joy in incredible ways. And there are so many different creators out there on social media as well who create these really incredible works of art that just showcase the joy of the sport. And yeah, so I hope that answers your question. But
Joshua, are you able to the extent, obviously you want to be tactful about it, can you maybe offer an observation or two about the cultural differences between the Phillies and the Red Sox organizations?
Um, yeah, I don't know if I can comment too much. But I will say that it's really like it's people don't really see this from the outside much, but and they assume a lot of like the analytics is pretty copy and paste. You either have it or you don't. But that's not necessarily true. A lot of teams have it. But the effectiveness of it comes from the communication lines that go from the analytics office to the skill coordinators to the coaches to the players, and how all of that gets communicated and utilized is incredibly important and impactful across all of baseball, all organizations, not just the Phillies and the Red Sox. And you can probably see that, like, just in what you hear about publicly is the differences between these organizations, how far along they are, and how effectively they're able to communicate across the organization and to be able to get the results from the front office to the field.
Cool. Okay, we still have a few minutes. Any last questions from folks out there? Roland, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering, could you say a little bit about how the video is being used with player speeds or getting jumps on balls or ideas like that?
Oh man, I wish I knew most of it, but I do know that these cameras are synced up to be at the same frame rate to be able to capture the same frames and sync up those frames using the timestamps on them to be able to triangulate positions of all of the different things that are going on. And then I believe that there's different like pose tracking softwares. I know that Apple has one for that you can install in like the App Store or something, or in an app that you're building that you can essentially use to identify people and the poses that they're in, and that's kind of how the cameras are able to triangulate where the joints are for each of the players and recognize that like this is a person, this is not a wall, and this is their knee position, their elbow flexion, and capture all of these incredible metrics that I am lucky enough I don't have to deal with that data. Cool.
Yeah, that's in my experience with soccer, because that's more my sport. That's the newer frontier with soccer. Also, is understanding, those sort of physiological that level of physiological data in matches. It's insane.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any other questions for Joshua before we thank him? Awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Hope you stick around for a little bit, but very informative. I see a few comments in the chat thanking you also. So good stuff there. If you would go ahead and unshare your screen there. We have, I was trying to pay attention to all the folks that are so far here. We've got about 4 minutes until the poster session begins. I believe there's only one poster presenter that I don't see yet, but I do want to continue a little bit of a tradition to get this out there. Those of you that are presenting posters, so I think Blake Behrens, Bhutani, Dooku, and Matt Garrett, and your group. If you would, so I'd like to go in order and for y'all to give maybe like a little 15-30 second preview of what your poster is about, so folks can at least just sort of hear hear a little bit of advertisement for it. So why they should go to your breakout room for your poster. So if you're willing to impromptu say a few words here, Blake Behrens, I believe you are here. Are you willing to unmute? Maybe oh, there you go. Your video's on and all that. So if you're willing to say just a few words about what your poster is about, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I've been researching high school football in Iowa and trying to come up with a better prediction system for playoff seeding. So right now, Iowa high school football uses RPI, which is based on win percentage and your strength of schedule. And so the goal of this research is to create a more informative approach to ranking those high school football teams.
And Blake, what high school did you go to?
I went to Linn-Mar in Cedar
Okay.
Rapids.
Okay. Hey, who won? I'm from Pella. We lost our championship game a couple nights ago. Who won the big game last night? Was it Southeast Polk?
Yeah, Southeast Polk beat Valley. It was a really exciting game to watch.
Oh man, okay, I'll have to watch the highlights. I didn't get a chance to watch. Awesome, thank you, Blake. Bhutani, I don't think. I honestly, I gotta be honest, this is weird. Never even saw him or her, them register. So we may have a blank spot in breakout room 2. Last call for Bhutani. Bhutani. Okay. And I hope I pronounced your name right. Kwabena Duku?
Yes, that's
Moderately right. So you're going to be in
Yeah.
breakout room 3. So can you say a few words?
Sure. My research is about soccer. I've been playing soccer for a while. I see Russell is a good fan of soccer. So, and also my mentor, who happens to be a professor in Illinois State, Dr. Oakley Ackman, was also a referee. That's how this project came about. So we are trying to look at the relationship between referee behavior and jersey colors, because it's been a rumor going around that the black dark colored jerseys had like a form of aggression associated with them. So we were trying to analyze it with EPL matches. So it will be fun. Please come around. We can talk about it. Thank you.
Sounds good. And who's your EPL team if you got one?
Well, it's Manchester United. Unfortunately, we are not in a good side now, but
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. So just playing. Okay, awesome. Let's see here. Matt Garrett. Let's see. It looks like Drake Downard is going to maybe be your representative here. Drake, is that you? You might want to unmute. Oh, there you go.
Yes, sir. So ours is kind of comparing how Division III track athletes stand up to Division I athletes. So we took data from the national championships in Division III track and put them up against the conference championships in Division I track, and kind of saw how different conferences stacked up against the Division I track athletes. And you would be surprised by how well the Division III track athletes stand up to the Division I track athletes.
Don't let anybody tell you that D3 is anything less than other divisions of athletics. Okay, so before I open some breakout rooms here, so Garrett, etc. Poster. So I'm putting a link. The only poster from this session that I actually received, just so I can share with you. Again, it's not a bad thing, but I just put in the Zoom, in the chat, a link to the poster that Drake and Matt and them will be presenting in the other breakout rooms. You know, obviously hopefully the presenters will share their screen, and we will negotiate any sort of technical issues. We'll navigate it as we go. Let's see here. Matt, what did you say here? And the Central and Simpson runners holding their own right now in the D3 Women's National Championship. Yeah, so Central
Country
sent
live
two.
right now.
What's that?
Yeah, it's happening right now. The cross country nationals.
How many runners did Simpson send? We sent 2.
Simpson sent 1, yeah, and they're about halfway through. So they're all holding their own still.
All right, so put something in the chat. Let me know the results, because I'm already overloaded on information here. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and create. I'm going to make 4 breakout rooms. I believe breakout room 2 is probably going to be empty. That's Bhutani's breakout room. So there you go. But again, Blake Barons will be in breakout room 1. Kwabena Duku will be in breakout room 3, and Matt Garrett, Drake Downard, and that group will be in breakout room 4. So let me do my things here. Let's see, breakout rooms. Make 4 of those. Sorry, I talk when I do things. So, all right, there should be 4 breakout rooms for you to jump into. There we go. So scream at me if you need help moving you into a room, because I think I can do that. So if anybody wants to just unmute, you can yell at me or put it in the chat or whatever you need. But I see people moving already, so this is great. Kwabena, you want me to move you? I'm going to go ahead and move you. There you go. You're
all right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, Sung Young Lee, I hope I pronounced that right. just let me know which room you'd like to go to, and I can move you. You can either put it in the chat or unmute yourself.
Can I go to breakout room 1?
Room 1, I can do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.